In this video, I'm going to show you how to prepare your mixing session the right way to make sure that your session is completely organized and ready for you to be able to mix and basically perform as good as you can as a mix engineer, which will yield tangible results for you and a better mix and happier clients. All right, so this is the session, and the reason I'm also making this video is because I have to just session prep this song so I can mix it, you know? So this is as like a real world of a scenario as you'll get, you know, at least what my process is to organize and prep a session. Like this is the production session, all the final takes, all this stuff. You can see things aren't named correctly. You have like a million harmony ones. So just have to, you know, go in, rename some stuff. Yeah, so that's what this is gonna be, is taking this mess of a session and making it something that's color coordinated, labeled, organized into folders, condensed and rendered down into audio files, and the MIDI is gonna be hidden and all this other stuff. We're gonna set this up for success so I can be set up for success, so I don't have to worry about anything in this session being weird and wonky. I just know this is here, this is here, this is here, this is here, boom, 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 make creative decisions in the mix, go. That's why I tout the sentiment that this will make your mixes better and you will have happier clients because you will have better mixes, and you will have better mixes because you're able to actually make better decisions because you're not looking at a smorgasbord of nonsense. So first thing that I'm going to do here is we're going to go ahead and just start naming stuff and throwing things in the folders. So I have Scratch acoustic guitars here. I ended up using, I think, this one little thing actually from the Scratch that I'm going to keep. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate that so I can keep the Scratch take there. And then this stuff, I'll keep the Scratch takes, but what I'll do is I'll go ahead and move these to the very bottom right now, and I'm going to make a trash folder, essentially. It's not really a trash folder, but it's going to be a hidden folder with all of, you know, the stuff that used to make the dang song that we don't need anymore for the mix. So I'm gonna just name it like miscellaneous. So this is gonna be muted. All that stuff is disabled. And there's gonna be a couple other things that go into that. So like, this is one of those things. I used this MIDI to make this sound. We're gonna bounce that out. So I don't wanna get rid of the MIDI. I'm gonna throw that down here because it's better to actually bounce down and solidify your MIDI, but we'll get there in a second. I'm just pulling together the stuff that is immediately a problem. And then we have these Scratch vocals too. Down here. Now we're gonna take these guys and throw them in this folder like so. Next thing I'm gonna do is, since we have a bunch of vocals and I know the vocals are all right here, just create a vocal folder. And the folders I'm making, these are technically DCAs. So this fader will control the level for the entire group. But if you notice over here, you can't put plugins on it or anything. I don't treat these as subgroups. I just literally treat it for the fact that, hey, I can put them in a folder, I can name them, and I can collapse the folder. That's all I care about. The fact that it has a DCA fader doesn't really matter that much to me, but maybe I'll use them. So I name that vocals. That'll actually be the vocal folder that we go with. Before I bounce these into MIDI or whatever, what is this? This is what I'm talking about. You gotta be like, all right, what is this? Scratch Vox hashtag 10 underscore bounce in place. What is that? A reverse vocal. So I can throw that in the vocal thing. Let's see, is there anything else? Is there anything else that I missed as a vocal? Okay, no. So I guess I'll name that right now. Just throw this in here. Naturally, I like to put all of my effect vocals at the bottom of everything, so it'll be down here. Again, we'll organize that later. First things first is we're cleaning up the big stuff, which means throwing it into folders. Throwing things into folders, consolidating it, and then we'll get into the naming intricately around there. Instrument 1, this is drums. So let's probably just name that drums. And eventually I am going to show you how I bounce out all of the MIDI for that too, which is a very, very important process. It's a very, very important process. So we have, this is a bass and this is a bass, electronic bass. All right, so we're gonna create track stack there. It's gonna be bass. What I'll do actually is I'll copy these drums, because I'm gonna need a duplicate of that anyway for what I'm gonna do. That way I can make my drums. This instrument thing right here, I'm gonna go ahead and flatten the stack. So I took everything out of that instrument stack, and I had an instrument stack made literally just for the production whenever I was tracking vocals, because he's like, hey, I want the instruments down. I was like, okay, I'll just throw everything in a folder and just bring the DCA fader down for now. But I'm not gonna mix that way, and I don't wanna organize it that way either. So we have acoustic guitar, scratch, then acoustic guitar master. So this is the effect, like the effect acoustic thing. You'll hear what that sounds like. It sounded kind of crappy, which I kind of liked. So I was like, oh, it fits for the part of the song. We have our acoustic master here. I think this is an effect guitar for the acoustic. So what I'll do is make an acoustic folder. Acoustic guitar. Part of my structure is the mains. I'll do, like, I actually have a system with what gets capitalized, what doesn't, and all of that stuff. All right, tambourine does not need to be all the way up here. That's like an effect. Throw it somewhere down there. So now we have electric guitar. This is the chorus guitar here. I have my lead. So we got that. Electric guitar. What is this? It's gonna call it pad for now. I don't know, I have a Spanish flamenco guitar. I don't know what I was doing with that. That channel can go. Don't need that. There's my effects. So I'm gonna put my effects stuff down here. I don't know what this is. Again, dead channel. This is part of what you do. You clean up, just get rid of the dead stuff. I am a little bit all over the place right now doing this, but this is kind of like, I'm seeing bigger issues as I go and I'm tackling them as I go, because it's like if I'm creating folders, well, oh, I don't want a dead track in the folder. Oh, I want to at least know what this thing is so I can name it really quick and have a rough idea and put it in the folder. And then when we go back and have a whole naming scheme, then it'll all make sense. If you're finding this helpful so far in any way, shape, or form, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, do whatever you can to help this channel. God, that was so cringy, but please, yeah, like, subscribe, comment, do whatever. It really does actually help the channel a lot. I'm gonna create track stack. This is gonna be cinematic post-production. And this is gonna be melodic post-production. So now we have everything nice and neat into tracks, right? So I'm gonna do drums actually probably last, because that's gonna be very, very deep and in depth there. So we're gonna go ahead and start here with bass. And make sure this is all consolidated correctly. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and bounce that, or not bounce it, but we're going to join the regions. So now we have that. That's gonna be our bass DI, and I'm gonna actually bounce this in place. This is gonna be our the actual bass tone. All the plugins you see there, that's all tone shaping. That wasn't even really like mixing stuff. I go ham with the tone shaping, and you know, that's just what it needed to be to get what I wanted, and it's a loud bass. All right, so we're gonna take all that off. So we have the DI here now. So we got our bass, and then we have the electronic bass here. All right, so we have our electronic bass. So what I'm gonna do is take that and I'm gonna throw that down here and throw that in the miscellaneous folder in a second. So bass DI, bass print, electronic bass. So there we go. So now we have all our basses, and I'm gonna go ahead and color that. I usually have my basses like a dark purple or whatever. That's the other thing I need to do. I select everything, and we will do color track by region cell color. There we go. You don't have to do this step, but you know, every now and then if I'm doing this, I'll just like throw an icon. Just on the main one. Doesn't have to be, but sometimes I'll do that. Depends on how organized I really want to be. So we got the bass. Next we'll do guitar here. Now, acoustic guitar is technically the primary of this, but I like to have my electric guitar before with the basses. So I'm actually going to have that. So this is going to be rhythm L, then rhythm R. These are the aux chugs, so aux R. Aux for auxiliary. This over here doesn't need to exist. That was an idea. I can just kill that. And the chorus guitar bus, both of those are going to that. It's good. And then I have guitar lead. And that's it really for these guitars. Everything here looks like it's, except for that guy. That guy's not crossfaded. All right, we're gonna go ahead and consolidate those. So for guitars, I guess the color I usually use is some type of like greeny, orangey kind of thing or whatever. I'll go with that. Color track. And then same with acoustic guitars here. I'll make these guys that yellowy one. There you go. So I got the bass, we got that, we got the acoustic guitars. Let's make sure that we have this set up here. So I want my acoustic, it's not acoustic master. Then acoustic effects. Acoustic guitar effects left, effects right. That's gonna be, I think this one's lo-fi. And then this last one is, actually no, it's a shimmer. This is a shimmer guitar. Yeah, like some shimmer verb on it. So this is good to consolidate. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. This is already feeling so much more like neat and tidy, and it's gonna make mixing this such a breeze. These are fine. This is fine, but they're gonna name this. This is verse. And then this is chorus. And the reason I have it as verse and chorus is because the verse is a lot more stripped down in this song. So I want to have independent control over that versus that, right? So with where I am now, what I'm gonna do is highlight everything I just had, and we are going to name the regions, name region by track and cell name. So we named all the tracks, and now you see that the regions over here are all reflective of whatever the respective track is, up to what we've done so far. Next is the melodic post-production. Now this is where we're gonna start bouncing things out to audio a lot more. That's one. I hope it has audio tails. Also, yeah, important to have audio tails so that when you bounce it, it doesn't just like cut off. So we have that, bounce in place. I'm just gonna go through each one of these, bounce them in place, and you know, that'll be that. The only ones I'm gonna check are these organs. And here I think that's one type of organ, and then I have more of like a gospel-y organ underneath it. And then underneath that, I have the chords, like the actual chords for the organ. And underneath that, there's a lot of organ layers actually for this, and I'll showcase that in a bit. So this thing is holding a note out for whatever reason. It's really annoying. I'll have to kill it in the dead spaces. I don't care that much. I don't think it's really going to be bothering anything mix-wise if it stays there. And then last down here is a piano. Oh, well, then I have this little organ rip down here for the last chorus. It's just some ear candy stuff. So now I'm gonna go ahead and mute all of our MIDI stuff, like so. I'm gonna grab them all. I'm gonna save it before Logic decides to do something stupid like it did earlier. And we're gonna drag them all down to the bottom. Cool. So it decided not to do something stupid. So now we have all this stuff. Throw this in the miscellaneous folder like that. And with these, we're just gonna turn all the tracks off. These don't need to be on for any reason. And since it had like that weird resonant note that like hangs off, it's not really doing anything horrible. But I also like, hey, if I can clean that up real quick, then I'll do that. It's not a big deal. If you want to hear what the song actually sounds like, I have like the live of us producing this. So you can go check the live streams. If I haven't already archived it for channel members, I leave the live streams up a little bit longer so that, you know, some people get it before I make it exclusive for the people who, you know, really care about the more in-depth things. And you hear acoustics plus bass. So you hear the big chorus. So cool. Just wanted to make sure everything is vibing right and that nothing got weirdly transposed. Things feel good. So this is gonna be big pad. Big pad. Nostalgic lead. And this is organ high, organ low. Organ chords. Top keys. Organ. Rip. Cool. So there's that. The melodic post. I'm gonna make this color like a green. Like not this foresty green thing. Cinematic post. This will be a fine color for it. So there's that, and then we have vocals. And I guess I'll make vocals. What color will I make the vocals? A lot of them. There is a lot of them. Let's go with teal. Why not? No, or I could make the vocals black. Let's do that. So it'll be a color track by region color. There we go. So we have this. Let's go ahead and put the vocal mic there, cine post. Use that. Melodic post production. Throw keyboard there. Acoustic guitar. Throw that there. Electric guitar. Throw a telly. All right. So far, so good. So tambourine is tambourine. Epic space is what that's called. We have effect swell, symbol effects. Mumford clap. This sounds like one of the Mumford and Sons claps that they have everywhere. Let's call it Mumford clap. Why not? Name, region, by track, cell name. Did I do the same thing for this? I did not. Name region by track cell name. That's good there. Okay, now we are at the vocals. This is already somewhat organized-ish, because I kind of have to be whenever I'm doing these sessions. So we have the main. Let's see where I have all of this stuff.
Deeper when the left inside of your mind you see. But I'm done standing here holding on. I've got to learn how to breathe.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a main box verse. That's what I'm going to go with. So we're going to kill everything here. I'm going to move this down here and only throw it up.
In misery, defining that the problem is a mind fighting disease. Future's looking grim behind these shades I barely see. It's not all that I'm made of, but it's damn sure I'm not done yet. Oh, my mind is all messed up. I don't think it's gonna change. I don't think it's gonna change. Call my mama, she's done praying, hoping I don't lose my brain. Call to say I'm okay. Can't say the same about today. My heart lately terrified of how God made me again. Ain't nothing personal to spin through all the worst you know. Tell me, baby, why am I like this?
Cool. So we have the verse, chorus, vocals, bridge. Wonderful.
Why am I like this?
And this is going to go to the main vocal master. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have that. This is going to be my master fader for the vocal. That's going to have all of my parts going to that. What is weird vocal? What is this? All right. So that's an effect vocal. We're going to move that to the bottom. I always have my effect vocals at the bottom. We have dub 1. I never used the dub 2 track, so that can die. Dub vox 1. Now we have the harmonies. This is where things are going to get interesting. Gotta figure out what's what.
Terrified of how God made me.
So this is going to be harm 2. This one should be harmony 3, based on how I usually do things.
How God made me.
Harmony 4.
How God made me.
And all together.
How God made me again. Ain't nothing personal to spin through all the worst you know. Tell me, baby, why am I like this?
Should probably have the full chant.
Why am I like?
There's a lot that went into this chant. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make this chant vocal thing its own, in its own folder. And I guess for this one, I'll make this red. Make these red, just to really show the differentiation here. All right, color, track by region. So chant vox, I'll put those all the way at the bottom. Because that to me is kind of like an effect vocal, and that's its own thing. And I don't want that. I don't want to see this all the time. And I kind of already pre-mixed this. I had to like dial in the sound very specifically to accomplish, you know, what that was supposed to be. But now we have that there at the bottom. We have our vocals, literally everything that's supposed to be there. What I'm actually gonna do, and this might be extra for some of you guys. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. I'm gonna send my harmonies to buses. Each one gets a bus. And it just makes automating easier whenever I'm doing this mix. And part of the session prep is making sure my routing is solid. So now that I have all the harmony buses set up, that is gonna go to the harmony master, which that's what this is gonna be, and I'm just gonna name all this in a second. So harm one master. You know, I'm just gonna, I'll change the verbiage every now and then, just kind of depends on, on how I feel, but it ends up serving the same purpose. Serves the same purpose for master, so now I have that. Actually, I'm just gonna call this BGV master because I don't have many doubles. I would have a separate double, double vocal bus, but I literally only have one mono double here. So I'm just gonna send this also to the BGV master. So now I have that. We have the harmonies, the doubles going there, and now we're gonna have the main Vox and the BGVs go to a vocal master, which is gonna, I'm about to get into, how I do my busing. So this is gonna be the vocal bus. And I like to designate my buses by this little mixer. So this is gonna be the full bus. And then to make sure that the chant vocal, reverse vocal, delay vocal, all that stuff goes where it needs to go, what I do is I'll make a Vox effects. Vox effects goes to the vocal bus. And this chant vocal, everything, we have the chant master already, so I can just route the chant master to the vocal bus. So now if I solo the vocal bus, boom, we got everything. Everything's good. So routing is set for vocals, and now I have my vocal bus out here. Never have to look at it again. Let's go back and make sure that everything here is actually set with, the name and the region. So we will do the rename region by track name. So that's set. I don't mind my vocals being kind of like fragmented like this. It gives me an idea to see, where everything is. These, I like consolidating those. Vocals don't need to be. The cine post, so let's go ahead and start making, my actual routing, my actual buses. So all of the cinematic stuff is gonna go to one cine bus. Cinematic master. Cool. So we got that. Then the melodic post. What I'm gonna do is have the organ stuff and have that first. I'm gonna make an organ bus because there's enough of the organ for this to matter. Organ master. And then these other ones are fine. So now we'll just have the organ master plus those going to melodic master. The only ones that I have this for is my main buses. So the vocal bus, the instrument bus, and the mix bus. Those are the only ones that I'll designate with this. And there's a reason for that. Well, the main reason is just so I can see it and address it when I see it. So we have this, we already have the acoustic bus. Acoustic bus is good, we have the acoustic effects. We have the shimmer, so shimmer, acoustic effects, acoustic bus is gonna go to the acoustic master, which sits outside. So I'm just gonna name this to acoustic rhythm. Rhythm. That way I don't get confused about things. So there's that. All right, cinematic, melodic, acoustic. I'm gonna change this back to this guy. So we have the chorus guitar and the guitar lead. This is gonna be electric master. Electric guitar master. There it is. That's set. And bass, we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing here. Route all these guys to the bass master. I just dawned on me while I was like, electronic bass, I could have just named it synth bass, like a normal person. Cool. So we have all of the routing here, melodic, acoustic, electric, bass. Again, we haven't done the drums yet. We'll get there. All of this, because that's arduous in and of itself. This is all going to go to the mix bus. And that's what this is. So I'm going to hide the miscellaneous track for now, because I don't need that. So it's going to be mix. Nope. This is instrument bus. And then the instrument bus is going to go plus the vocal bus to the mix bus. Wow. Oh my gosh. No way. Oops. So now if I open everything, we'll be able to see exactly, and just double check the routing and make sure that when I highlight and solo certain things, they'll be where they need to go. So let me check the instruments. Vocals are muted because we're not sending the vocals. We have the guitars, the melodic stuff, and the bass. There's a reason why the Cine Post, I didn't mention this, there's a reason the Cine Post isn't routed to the instrument bus. I don't want these hits, I don't want these swells, ducking my compressor and whatnot. But, honestly, that being said, I'm looking at this stuff right now, and I don't have any bass drops. There's no bass hits in this song. There's nothing that, actually would trigger my compressors later down the road. So in this situation, I actually will send this to the mix bus. This is going to go straight to the mix bus. Because what I usually will do, actually, is I won't send this to even to the instrument bus or the mix bus. I'll send it straight to the stereo out that has the final limiter just catching any peak. And I do a similar thing with the overheads, which I am going to do that with my overheads. It's a really important part of my process. Yeah, so all of that's set. Let me highlight vocal bus. Vocal bus is good. Everything else is out. Go back. Mix bus, everything is in minus the drums. So routing is perfect. There's no issues with the routing. Everything is color coordinated, organized, labeled, set beautifully. And now we can get to the fun part, the drums. Also, I have a book coming out at the end of the month, and I am going to be making content surrounding that book. And, I may or may not give some things of this book out for free. What is the book about, you may ask? It's important. It's about basically being wise as an audio engineer and a creative to actually make this thing a career. To actually have it as a career and not just, let me play with things and hope for the best. No, there's like an actual clear structure and things that you can and should do in order to get to at least where I am, which is, honestly, it's not very far, but at least I can tell you to get to where I got. That's all I can say. I can't tell you how to get further than that, but it's 10 years of information that I've ingested and put into a book that you can read probably in like a day or two. Honestly, this can be its own video all by itself, and I think I'm probably gonna do that, but I'll explain briefly and even show in another session that has already been done, kind of how I go about it. So in this particular track that I have it on, I'm using, the Kurt Ballou Signature Series drums. You have the kit and everything. So what I do is if I'm programming drums, I do not send out a multi-out. I don't do that. What I do is I solo internally inside of the sampler, and then I bounce in place. And I know you might be thinking, that's crazy, but it works. I get, the most amount of control to make sure that I want this to sound exactly how it needs to sound. So I duplicated this earlier. Why? So this can be the one, my master, that I don't touch. So this will always have the instance of contact. It'll always have the instance of my MIDI that was it before I got into cleanup phase. So if I screw anything up in this phase, I can always revert back to that and it's there. So, but I'm gonna work off of this one underneath it, which is just a duplicate. So phase one is just, get rid of all the processing that's on this channel, because this was just so I can, hear things in context. That's it. Just to, get things feeling okay for the production session. So this is it straight out of the sampler. So what I would do is just simply, I'll get my direct mics first. So, I'll just show you briefly what this will look like, and it'll basically be the same thing over and over again. So kick in, you might be like, oh, it's stereo. It's like, well, it's not a big deal. I can just change that to mono really quickly and, you know, bounce that in place. No big deal. But this is our kick in. So let's just name this kick in. And I would essentially do this for all of it. So I do that for the kick in, for the kick out, snare top, snare bottom. I like to get snare room samples and snare overhead samples separately in addition to the whole kit picture. And then I'll get my triggers. And then I'll get my, you know, samples that I'll do to supplement that. But again, that's a whole nother video. And it would probably be just as long, if not longer than this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop it here. Essentially what I would do is I'd have my kicks, my snare, all of that would go to a drum bus. I actually don't use a drum bus compressor, but my overheads, I send those outside of the drum bus, outside of the instrument bus, outside of the mix bus, and that goes straight to the stereo out with the final limiter on it. And that's so my compression doesn't, you know, pump the cymbals. So my cymbals feel really nice and even on top, but I can really, you know, push the compressors if I want to on the instrument bus and on the mix bus and even on the drum bus, because I don't really use, you know, bus compression on my drum bus much anymore as like an overall thing. I like to do that on the instrument bus and get, you know, my movement there. However, this should give you a good idea about that. Let me know if you really want to see that drum video one of how I do this. I'm going to do it anyway, but maybe I'll put that at the top of the list if, you know, people are really interested in that. But this is my process on how I organize my mix session. Essentially, once the drums are done on this, this is ready to go. I can, you know, go in, I can mix this, pump it out, and it's gonna sound really good. Because now everything is organized, it's neat, I know where everything is, I know where everything's routed, it's set up for me to be creative, it's set up for me to be able to just, you know, do the best that I absolutely can without anything hindering me on, you know, the logistical side. So if you like this, comment, like the video, subscribe, I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.